Let's talk to Robert Moran, who's a Republican strategist right here in Washington, D.C. Robert, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for talking to us. The pictures this morning on the front pages are all to do with the shooter from Utah, a man who is being sought by the FBI and law enforcement officials. It looks as though he's the man that pulled the trigger on the one bullet that was used to kill Charlie Kirk. How are things in America at the moment? Because obviously there's an incredible divide, like there is here, in terms of people on the right and people on the left.
It's not good. I mean, America's at an all-time high in terms of political polarization, and you can see that in political polling. I'm sure that we had more political polarization in the 19th century when we had even more political violence, but we have no data for that because it was before political polling. I think most thoughtful observers are concerned that this will escalate and create sort of almost tit-for-tat, copycat violence, and something that devolves into sort of gangland behavior. You know, about half of American voters have a report having a firearm at home. About 18% of Americans report dealing with social isolation and depression. And so you have the potential for a lot of sort of lone gunman activity, which I think has people rattled. But we're not really hearing the kind of full-throated response that we should get from leaders telling people to pull back from the brink. And I think it's in part because Americans don't understand what a civil war would look like today.
Yeah. And I mean, the problem is that there are an awful lot of people in America with guns, and so, you know, it can be quite a scary prospect.
Right. Yeah, about half of Americans have a firearm at home. So I think there's that issue. There's also political polling that shows that an increasing percentage of Americans feel like violence could be justified, you know, with the other side. That's not good. That's a prelude to this. And, you know, we'll have to see what we find out about the shooter. You know, we don't really have any sense of that yet. I think there's also a sense for the conservatives in the United States that a line has been crossed here because they're connecting it to a pattern with the attempted Trump assassination attempt. Yeah. And so I think that's a challenge to get people to walk back from that. So I think this is a very difficult moment. Yeah.
I mean, Donald Trump called it a very dark moment for America when Charlie Kirk's death was announced and his murder was announced, and I think he was absolutely right to say that.
That's right.
And of course, there will be lots of people out there, particularly on the left, who blame Donald Trump for this, and you know, I think unfairly, but blame him for kind of, you know, if you like, weaponizing politics.
Well, it's interesting. When I started in politics in Washington years ago, we had opponents, but we did not have enemies. Yeah. That changed during the Monica Lewinsky scandal, where both parties sort of became much more agitated and started treating each other more like enemies. Yeah. That's really unfortunate. You know, you're showing a video right now of people running for cover in an open air meeting there at the university. And I think the challenge here for your viewers is that, you know, on any given day, when a member of Congress is at home in their constituency, they're going to have 2 to 3 major public meetings, either in large meeting halls or hotels or outside in a place like a university. And they have no security detail, none. Only the Speaker of the House or like Senate Majority Leader, President, Vice President, Secretary of the Treasury, they have security detail. The average member of Congress has a driver, maybe, has an aide that's like handling paperwork while they're driving around. So there's no security. And so I think, you know, you have a lot of people, you're hearing members of Congress say they're stepping away from wanting to do open air events. That's a very big problem in a democracy where you're supposed to be meeting the people you represent. So
I mean, we've had the same problem here, to be fair, Robert. I mean, not so much with guns, but certainly we had David Amos, who was a Conservative MP, stabbed to death in his constituency by a guy who wanted to kill him. He was a jihadi who just sort of turned up at one of his surgeries where people were going to sort of vent their problems, you know. I mean, do you feel more in danger as an individual involved in politics these days?
it's made me think about some of the public speaking I do, to be honest. But a lot of it, will go through some kind of metal detector. But it is an interesting issue. I think if you go back and you look, CNN did this great analysis earlier today of all the political violence against major politicians or activist types since Gabby Giffords, which really kind of touched some of this off.
Yeah.
And of all of these, I think the coordinated Minnesota shootings was probably the most disturbing, because it was a more sophisticated attempt to assassinate and successfully assassinate leaders at the state level who also have very little security. And so I'm very worried that people will start looking at this and you'll get copycats. And there have been attempts to try to take the footage down of the video of the shooting to reduce the likelihood that deranged individuals would want to copy this. But I have concerns just about. My biggest concern would maybe not even be the federal level, but at the state level, where you might have a state trooper if you were the Senate president or the Speaker of the House or legislature in Ohio or Nebraska or something like that.
Right.
But everybody else is a citizen legislature. So they have their address is known and they have no protection.
Right.
So I think there's some very big concerns, and I think personal security protection is going to be a sought-after commodity here.
Wow.
Now.
So sad. Terrible. Robert, listen, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. I don't want to say stay safe. It sounds mad, but kind of is the truth. Robert Moran, the Republican strategist.